In the final days of 1977, the city of Sacramento, California, entered a period of fear that would grip its residents for nearly a month. Over the span between December 29, 1977, and January 27, 1978, 6 people were killed. The killer would come to be known in headlines as the Vampire of Sacramento. But before that name existed, there were only victims, grieving families, and investigators searching for answers in the cold. The first death came on December 29, 1977. Ambrose Griffin, a 51-year-old engineer, was killed in a drive-by shooting. At the time, there was little to connect it to anything larger. A random act of violence, seemingly without motive, that left a family without a husband and father. Investigators had few leads and no clear suspect. Then, on January 23, 1978, the violence returned. Teresa Wallin, just 22 years old and 3 months pregnant, was killed inside her own home. The brutality of the scene marked a chilling escalation. A young woman, on the threshold of motherhood, taken in a place where she should have been safe. The randomness and cruelty of the attack sent a wave of alarm through the community. 4 days later, on January 27, 1978, came the most devastating attack of all. At the residence of Evelyn Myroth, 38, investigators found a scene of unimaginable loss. 4 people were killed there. Evelyn Myroth herself, her 6-year-old son, Jason, Daniel Meredith, a 50-year-old family friend and Jason's godfather, and David Ferreira, Myroth's nephew, just 22 months old. In a single afternoon, a family and their circle of loved ones had been shattered. The youngest victim was an infant. For the people of Sacramento, the sense of safety had collapsed. 6 victims in under a month, spanning ages from 22 months to 51 years, with no obvious connection between many of them. Parents kept children indoors. Doors that had rarely been locked were now bolted. The pressure on investigators to find the person responsible was immense. The break came quickly after the Myroth attack. Chase was apprehended on January 28, 1978, the day after the killings at the Myroth residence. When authorities took him into custody, they recovered a .22 caliber handgun. Crucially, the weapon was registered in his own name, and it was the gun used to kill the victims. That physical link between the man and the killings would become central to the case against him. The accused was Richard Trenton Chase, born May 23, 1950, in Santa Clara County, California. At the time of his arrest, he was 27 years old. The evidence gathered against him tied him directly to the string of deaths that had terrorized the city. Because of the intense pre-trial publicity surrounding the case in Sacramento, the trial was moved to Palo Alto. The change of venue was intended to secure a jury that had not been saturated with coverage of the crimes. The trial began on January 2, 1979, and it would stretch across 5 months, an extended proceeding that examined not only what had happened, but the mental state of the man on trial. One of the central legal questions was Chase's sanity. His defense raised the issue of his mental condition at the time of the killings. The jury was asked to weigh not only whether he had committed the acts, but whether he was legally sane when he did so. This was a case where the law's definitions of responsibility and culpability were put directly before 12 jurors. On May 8, 1979, after deliberating for 5 hours, the jury reached its verdict. Richard Chase was convicted of 6 counts of first-degree murder. The jury ruled that he was legally sane at the time of the commission of the crimes. That same day, May 8, 1979, he was sentenced to death. According to reporting on the case, he was to be executed in the gas chamber at San Quentin State Prison. The conviction was unambiguous. A jury found him guilty on all 6 counts, rejecting the argument that he lacked legal responsibility for what he had done. For the families of Ambrose Griffin, Teresa Wallin, Evelyn Meroth, Jason Myroth, Daniel Meredith, and David Ferreira, the verdict marked a legal conclusion, though not an end to their grief. Richard Chase would not be executed by the state. On December 26, 1980, he was found dead at San Quentin State Prison. He had died of an overdose of Sinequan, an antidepressant, in what was reported as an apparent suicide. He was 30 years old. The man convicted of 6 murders had taken his own life on death row, a little over a year and a half after his sentencing. The case remains one of the most disturbing in California's criminal history, not only for the violence itself, but for the questions it raised. Chase had a documented history of mental illness, and the trial forced a confrontation with how the justice system handles defendants whose mental state is severely compromised. The jury's finding that he was legally sane at the time of the crimes became a defining element of the case, a determination that he could be held fully accountable under the law. In the years since, the case has been studied by those who examine the intersection of mental illness, institutional care, and violent crime. It raised uncomfortable questions about how individuals with serious psychiatric conditions move through the systems meant to treat and monitor them, and about what warning signs may go unheeded. For Sacramento, the winter of 1977 and 1978 left a lasting scar, a reminder of how quickly a sense of safety can vanish. 6 people lost their lives in the span of less than a month. Their names: Ambrose Griffin, Teresa Wallin, Evelyn Meroth, Jason Meroth, Daniel Meredith, and David Ferreira, are the true center of this story. Behind the sensational nickname the press assigned to the killer are real people, families forever changed by loss. The conviction stood as the legal record of what happened, and the lasting lesson of the case lies in the vigilance it demands, the reminder that gaps in care and oversight can carry a terrible cost.